something tells me that you're not a big Spider-Man fan, Joe.
Not really. Who's your favorite superhero? Well, too bad, because we're doing a Spider-Man tier list.
Oh, we're recording. Shit. My brother's really into Spider-Man.
Okay.
I mean, he's like, he actually like reads comics and everything. Too,
all right.
So I do not.
I see. Well, let's kind of go in order. So we have the first Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movie. Do you remember that one much?
I haven't even seen it, dude.
How?
I don't know what to tell you.
How have you not seen it?
I haven't.
It's like one of the best movies ever.
I don't know what to tell you.
All right, I'm putting it an A because it's pretty good, and you can't debate me with that since you've never seen it. Spider-Man 2. You ever seen that one? That's one with Dr. Octopus, Doc Ock.
This is going to be a short video, Cole.
Okay, well, I might as well get my reasoning for the first Spider-Man movie. So, what I like a lot about the Raimi movies is that there's a level of comic bookiness to it. Like, it feels 100% like it's ripped out of the comic books.
Okay.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, but when it does take itself seriously, it does it in times that matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's never a moment where an emotional moment is undercut by a actually,
Right.
that or clearly you've never made omelet, you never see that where it ruins the moment entirely, or there's a dumb joke. That never happens.
Okay.
So for those movies, when it tries to be funny, they're funny. Even when they don't, they tend to be funny. Like, just because they're unintentionally humorous at times.
Right.
Especially the first one. There's a lot of like moments where just Green Goblin looks awful. Like the CGI of him flying through New York just does not look good. But it's still fun.
Right.
Anyways, I still like it a lot. So, Tobey Maguire's great.
Okay.
I actually like him a lot as Spider-Man.
Okay.
I know that a lot of people, it's like, he's good as Peter Parker, but he's bad as Spider-Man. I like him as both. I think he works really well as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. He's kind of awkward in this first movie, but to me that like makes sense because he's still trying to figure out how to be Spider-Man.
Right.
So that's kind of my gist of that movie. Spider-Man 2, I think is one of the best superhero movies of all time. S tier, all the way. Spider-Man 2... God damn it, Joe. Spider-Man 2...
I'm going to have my contribution.
You do have to have your contribution to the video. Spider-Man 2 is a movie that I think just works on a structural level. It's borderline perfect.
Okay.
And
elaborate on that, why don't you?
I think I will. Alfred
You know what, Cole? I don't care.
Have you ever seen Spider-Man 2?
No!
No, okay. So, how do I explain cinema to someone who's never seen cinema?
True, by the way.
Well, Spider-Man 2, what I love about it is just how earnest it is.
Okay.
With Alfred Molina as Doc Ock being one of the best villain portrayals, I think, in any movie, just because he's so sympathetic. The whole thing with Spider-Man learning to become Spider-Man again, or having to like accept that responsibility again, with him losing his powers, and just, it's a perfect character arc for him, I think, in a way that works really well, that kind of proves it works so well, because in the third movie, they don't really give him much to do. He doesn't really learn much, other than the whole black suit Spider-Man. He kind of relearns the same lesson of responsibility and, vengeance isn't the way of going about it. You can't really get revenge, because then... it just makes other people want... That whole spiral. Yeah. Anyway, Spider-Man 3 is a mixed bag, but I kind of love it, so I'm going to put that in B. And my reasoning for this is it's been ripped to shreds by pretty much everyone on the internet. But my take on Spider-Man 3 is it would be a great miniseries, because there's so many villains, there's so much going on.
Okay.
But if it was chopped up more, or if you remove certain plot aspects, it still wouldn't work. It's like a weird like black sheep where no matter how much editing, it would still be way too much.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. So the only way to fix that, though, would be to just give it more. More scenes of these characters developing. Like Eddie Brock, played by Topher Grace, everyone rips on him for giving a bad performance, but I think if he was given more to do, more scenes to build upon his character, he would have been great.
Okay.
I feel like they would have pretty much been like, yeah, that's Venom, like when you see Topher Grace. Instead, now he's people kind of laugh at that idea, but I think I trust Sam Raimi with that. I feel like if he was given more time to develop these characters, and I just don't think he would have been the right choice for Venom if he understood the character more. Okay. That was another thing too, because he didn't want to do Venom. He wanted Sandman to be the primary villain, and you just can't really. with Venom, he didn't really like the character. He didn't understand the character, so whatever. I kind of get that. But besides that, though, I think that there are some moments that are just like inexcusable. But it's always that it's bad, but
Right.
And for me, the dancing scene, which I'll always defend. Because in the Spider-Man director's cut, the 3.1 version that's longer, that doesn't just take place after nothing, he's just dancing for no reason. In the 3.1 or the director's cut, or whatever you want to call it, it's right after the scene where Harry throws the pumpkin bomb at Peter and he webs it and he throws it back at Harry and it blows him up and he thinks Harry's dead. Hard cut, it's him dancing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like a comedian, it's dark. It's he's dancing because he's I don't have to worry about this guy anymore. That's why I'm dancing. I'm happy. In the theatrical and the cut that everyone knows, it just kind of happens for no reason. It's just thrown in there. So when it's in that context, I think it's a lot better. But
okay,
that's just me. We're gonna do Amazing Spider-Man 1. I'm gonna have that as B tier, but it's better than Spider-Man 3 in my opinion. Can I move it around? Can I do that? I can't do that? That's against the law? Okay. Have you seen that one?
I believe I have seen this.
Okay.
I have no memory of it.
Okay. Because for me, the problem that I have with this movie specifically is that it's a really good indie drama until he gets bit by the spider. And then he becomes Spider-Man. And then it's just and it's okay, now he's fighting a giant lizard in a sewer. It's this is just so out there. And that tone is just completely ruined. Mm-hmm. It feels like a movie that Marc Webb wanted, he wanted to make just an indie drama because he's done 500 Days of Summer. It feels like he made that movie and was okay, I want to kind of do this. And they're yeah, but can you do Spider-Man? That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Okay.
Where it would have been a really good indie drama, and then it just turns into just schlock.
High school people doing high school
because
shit.
The chemistry with Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield is second to none. They bounce off each other so well. The scenes are so well acted that it feels so natural with the dialogue. And I'm a big fan of naturalistic dialogue when that's the established tone for the movie.
Right.
But yeah, and then it just goes into full schlock. And then it's, I'll get you, Mr. Lizard. And then they're crawling through the sewer. And the lizard finds a camera with Peter Parker's name on it that Spider-Man's using. And it's just schlock. It's just schlock. Amazing Spider-Man 2. I want to make this F tier, but I can't, it's not a thing on here. So yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just god awful. It's basically just a commercial.
Oh, really?
The whole there's so many dumb moments with every shot. You swear to God, it has a Sony product in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just nuts. Electro is a terrible villain. Jamie Foxx does what he can, but it could have been a lot better.
Okay.
Again, same thing with Spider-Man 3, way too many villains, but it isn't really Sam Raimi that's handling it, so you're just kind of dear God, make it end. Mm-hmm. They try to set up the Rhino for a Sinister Six movie, and there's this whole scene where a character's walking through all the Doc Ock arms and the hovercraft for the Goblin, and it's just this is stupid. I know what you're doing, and it feels so shameless that it's just
I think, remember watching that as a kid and not caring about this one.
Yeah. I never liked the Andrew Garfield ones as a kid. It wasn't until I saw The Amazing Spider-Man on a plane, okay, yeah, I'll sit down and watch this. And I'm hey, that was okay. It wasn't terrible, but I had fun with it. One thing about The Amazing Spider-Man, though, one scene that I do love is the crane scene, where this construction worker that Spider-Man saved along with the guy's kid, he sees that Spider-Man has to swing to, I think it's the Oscorp building, but I could be wrong. And so they line up all the cranes so that he can swing on a straight line. The music swells, and it's this is Spider-Man. This is what I like. This is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man aspect of it that I like a lot. Next, we have... Oh, God, these are all the same. I think this is Homecoming. This is the first one. The biggest thing that I like about the Homecoming movies is... the Homecoming, the first movie of the Marvel MCU trilogy, is the fact that the whole arc of Spider-Man is he doesn't need the other heroes. And I feel like people have always missed that. The ending of the first Spider-Man movie for the MCU is him going, I don't want the Iron Spider suit. I'm good. I don't need that. And people seem to forget that when they call him Iron Boy Jr. and stuff. It's his whole shtick is that he's going, I don't want to be an Avenger. Which then Infinity War kind of undermines that whole thing. And I get that's where a lot of the Iron Boy Jr. memes kind of come from. But I don't know. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen all three of those.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on Homecoming?
I remember enjoying all three of them. It's not something that I remember all the details of. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in terms of the origin story style thing that it does and all that, and him being Spider-Man.
Yeah, where it doesn't show Uncle Ben getting shot for like the millionth time. They skip over that completely, which I kind of like. Where would you put it on the
I guess
because we can move it if you want. It is our list. I've just been kind of.
I don't remember enough to move it higher. Okay. I definitely wouldn't put it lower. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, because it isn't a terrible movie.
Yeah, like it's definitely a good
it's above
movie.
average for sure.
I think the one thing.
The suit I'm not a fan of. I don't like all the techie shit. I like when he's just in a suit that he made. That's always been a Spider-Man thing that I've always liked. Where it's
honestly, I think all of the villains for all of these three were kind of mid, in my opinion.
Vulture's good though. I like Vulture a lot.
Okay, elaborate.
That was Michael Keaton. For me, what sold it was the scene where he goes. It's when Peter Parker's about to go into like the homecoming dance.
Yeah,
and the Michael Keaton's daughter, who he's going on a date with, has already left the car, and then he kind of like lets him know that he knows that he's Spider-Man.
Right.
It's just a great moment when he shows the gun. It's like, oh, this is tense, and I like this because for the MCU you don't really get that. It's always more just like guys in suits and big lasers going up to the sky, and for that time at least. Mm-hmm. So for that, like it just felt very grounded. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like there's no way he's getting out of this. So the next one is Far From Home, I think it's called.
Yes.
I'm kind of between a C and a D. I don't know about you. You've seen this one, you said?
I forget exactly what Mysterio is trying to do in this one.
I'll have it at C just while we talk, and then we can kind of decide from there. But you could even have it higher if you really wanted to. But his whole thing is, I want to be an Avenger.
Oh, yeah, that's
But he's like, I'm going to fit. He was like Syndrome from Incredibles. Yeah. That was like the whole thing. It just didn't really do it for me, if I'm being honest. It was just kind of like, I don't like the scenes were cool where he's having like Spider-Man go through like all the trippy shit.
Yeah, I mean, the way he was scary and whatnot, but his whole motivation and then like, I don't know, there's something about just like defaming the hero that's always like lame.
Yeah,
because it's like there's no that to me in stories like these, like especially superhero movies.
Yeah,
that's so like okay, obviously they're gonna solve that problem. You know, like
right, yeah.
It's just feels so forced. You know,
yeah. Because all you need to do is just like have them just do what they've already been doing.
Yeah,
it wasn't like
they just keep doing hero stuff.
It wasn't like they were a terrible person,
right?
You know, or like they had some dark secret that then gets exposed. Because then it's like all they have to do is just like show it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas opposed to this, it was just kind of like, yeah, but like he's a total Boy Scout. This version of Peter Parker is. So it's like there's no way that I mean, I guess you kind of see that with the next movie, but I don't know.
I think. Yeah, I don't feel any reason to move it any lower.
Taking him to Europe, though, really just, like, messed it up for me. I know.
Really?
I just, like, for me, it was like, oh, come on. But he's, like, New York. He is New York. You know, like, that's his whole character. And so to take him away from that and not really do much with it, it just was kind of like...
you know what? Actually, now that you say that, you're right. Because they really don't do anything with it.
Yeah. Like, because Europe, they don't really have a ton of skyscrapers. Right. I know that, like, in London they do, and, you know, like, some of the bigger cities. But, like, for example, there's that fight that I believe is in Amsterdam. It's when the Molten Monsters fight.
Yeah.
They don't really do much. Because, like, he wouldn't be able to swing around as much because they're lower buildings. And there's, like, the big Ferris wheel thing that he has to rescue Ned from. But it's, like, otherwise they don't do much with it. You know, like...
It's really just a setting thing, and that's about it.
Like, we'll just have it in Europe for like a tax write-off. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the reason was, but it just felt off to me. Maybe to take him out of his element, that could have been part of it.
But they didn't.
Yeah, because then they had Nick Fury there to like mentor him, and it was just like, okay, but like you should have just had no one. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think having Mysterio as a twist villain didn't work either, because with Mysterio, I feel like most people know him as a Spider-Man villain from like the cartoons and in the comics, but like I don't know. For me, I knew it. My mom was kind of surprised by it when she first watched, because she doesn't know anything about the comics or the cartoons. Right. So for her, she was like, "Oh, I like that," because she likes Jake Gyllenhaal, and he had a very good performance in that.
That is true.
He was really good with that. So, where do you think we should have? Because this is the one that we saw together.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one with like Tobey and Andrew.
I remember us both enjoying it when we saw it.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like either here or here. Or actually, it would more be like maybe here is where I'd probably put it.
Okay, expand.
I'll just have it here while I talk, and then you can, of course, override it or anything. But so when I first saw it, I liked it a lot.
Okay.
It was an MCU movie that actually took itself seriously where it needed to, which is something that they tend to really fall short on.
Right.
Big part. Again, spoilers are probably. I mean, you've probably already seen this movie if you've
clicked on the video. Yeah.
But basically, like the scene that sold it for me was when Aunt May is killed.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, so this is serious now. Like this is legit. And the ending I love a lot. Yeah. Where he's like, okay, cool, this is Peter Parker as we know him. He has nothing, and that's what's great about this.
Literally nobody
It's like
knows
a clean
anybody
slate. It's perfect, yeah.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
I like that a lot. I like that we got to see the old villains. It was almost like the perfect way of resetting everything and going, okay, here's all the old. The old is gone. Here's the new.
Yeah.
Which I remember the first thing I thought was, what are they going to do next?
Yeah.
Which is something you should feel after a movie ends like this. There are just some moments that just stick out like a sore thumb. Like the first half of this movie before the other Spider-Men come by, it's just like... to me at least, I'm just like, oh my God, just get on with it already.
It did take a bet, yeah.
And like, I get it, but also, it's just like there's no villains. There's nothing progressing the story forward except for school's ending. We're all going to go to college. Oh, but we can't because of Spider-Man. It's like that's what like is holding the character. And it's just like it was just weird. And the Doctor Strange thing I wasn't a huge fan of because he kind of felt like he wasn't important.
I mean, he was just a device to solve the problem, really.
Basically, yeah. And he's literally the Deus Ex Machina at the end that fixed the problem. Otherwise, like he doesn't do much in the movie. I say A, right off the bat.
Honestly, I would maybe move it down
to like here. You think?
Yeah, just because it's not. It has the exact same feeling. I mean, we were talking about this way earlier before, where it's like I don't really remember what happened, and I don't even know what it was trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
it was. I mean, it was still amazing to look at, though.
Oh, visually, it's incredible.
I mean, there's really on that alone, I would still, even if it was a terrible movie, still have it up there just because it's
visually it's S tier. Visually, it's S tier, 100%.
But yeah, so across the Spider-Verse, though, to move right along.
Oh wait, hang on. I want to give my thoughts on this really quick, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So for me, I'm sick of hearing about this movie, the Spider-Verse movies.
Okay,
because on Letterboxd, it's like one of the highest rated movies, and same with the sequel. Yeah. And it's like a lot of people act like it's like the second coming of Citizen Kane.
Oh, okay.
And for me, it's just like, guys, it was a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but it is not on par with I remember when it was one of the movies. I think it might have been the second one when it topped the movie Come and See, which is like a war drama.
Oh, and it's yeah, about that one kid or whatever.
That looks like Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah,
yeah. So like, I remember when I saw that, I'm like, okay, come, let's hold our horses a little bit here, because like, to me, that's just like, But so my thoughts on, I think it's a very funny movie. It's very well written comedically. I love the setup of, all right, let's do this one more time, and then they explain the backstory of every girl. It gets you so into it when it first starts up. You're like, all right, yeah, let's just get right into it. Perfect. I love all the voice acting. All the performances were solid. I don't know the guy who plays Miles. He's really good. I thought he was an actual kid, and then I looked him up, and the guy's like 30 or something.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, he's not like 14, because his voice made him sound younger. He was really good.
Yeah.
Everyone in this movie gives a fantastic performance. Story for me, though, just is kind of like, I don't know. Like, it's called Across the Spider-Verse, but they kind of stay in one area. So for me, it feels very stagnant. And
just for the record, so you don't have people yelling at you, this is Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, is it Into?
Yeah, second one is Across.
All right, really quick rant. Can we just start calling shit Spider-Verse 1, 2, and 3 again? Or like Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3? Because like the Far From Home and the No Way Home and the Homecoming, it just becomes like mashed potatoes in my brain. And I just like... It's
or at least
so
keep the subtitle, but put a number there.
Put a number. I completely agree, because it gets so confusing. Because it's like, I don't... Anyways. Yeah, even more so then. Into the Spider-Verse.
They don't go into
the Spider-Verse. But I know it's such a minor nitpick. Watch that get clipped, and then everyone's like, wow, you hate it because of the title. But no, what I'm getting at, though, is I wanted more from it, and I'm sure the sequel gives me more. So that's why I'm not really counting that as a negative against it. I will say that the pacing is really rough.
Yeah.
People always rip on me for my reviews whenever I say the pacing's rough in a movie, but you feel it once they go to the dinner party scene. I don't know if you remember that, where they dress up as, like, in disguise as, like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Miles is, like, he's, like, in his room, and he's, like, webbed to, like, his chair and everything, so they're all mad at him, and it's just, like... You guys, I know that this is the part of the movie right before the third act where everyone hates each other, and then they go into, the third act where they're all friends again, and it feels rewarding, and it's like, just... Let's go. Come on. I get where we're going, so, like, let's speed into it. Because it's, like... There are just moments like that where it's, like... Yes, I've read Save the Cat as well. That's a book that every screenwriter's ever read. I feel like, I get exactly what you're doing here.
Okay.
So for me, it was just like I get it, guys. Also, though the animation, as great as it is, I will say, the fight scenes are very choppy for me.
Okay.
And for me, it gives me a headache after a while. I mean,
that's understandable.
I think I told you I tried to play Cruelty Squad, and I genuinely had a migraine and needed to lay down for like 4 hours because my eyes couldn't handle it. I mean, I get motion sickness sitting in the back seat of a car.
Okay.
So, like, for me, like, I had to take Dramamine just if I'm going to ride, like, 30 minutes plus in the back of a car.
Okay.
Because, like, when we went to G-Fest, the Godzilla convention, I was in the front the whole time. Mm-hmm. If I was in the back, I would have been puking out the window.
Okay.
So, for me, with this type of stuff, I'm just giving context as to why I'm bad with, like, this type of stuff, with motion sickness. Some of these fight scenes, it's just, like, I have a headache.
Yeah.
And that's not ripping on the movie. It's just my own personal opinion because it's my personal eyes. You know what I mean? But like, whereas with someone like you, I'm sure it looks fantastic the whole time. For me, it's just difficult seeing it in a theater because it's just a bit overwhelming for me, if that makes sense. Where I'm just like, I respect it, but it's a bit much. Maybe if I'll probably watch the second one in like doses.
Okay, that you should because the action is really fucking.
I'm sure. So that's the perfect segment then. Get into the
So this one. I think you had posted something where you were like, oh, I'm tired of these multiverse movies or whatever.
I was tired of generational trauma movies. Okay. And that one, I know that this movie kind of goes into that too, right?
Maybe I don't know what generational trauma is, but this one, I would say is not an excuse to not go see those kinds of movies. Because it is, I would put it straight to A.
Okay.
Better than the other one because the visuals get level up. Okay. Each different universe they go to, it looks like it's from a different issue of a comic.
So it wasn't like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness where, this is an alternate universe where everything looks the same, but there's like slight differences.
Yeah, no, it was straight up...
It actually got multiverses, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
It's just that looking at it, you go, that is not Earth. Or like...
I saw the Da Vinci one.
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter, and I'm like, that looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. Or like... Gwen's home universe is even more comic book looking with like how the background is all like it looks like prints,
the tritones.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't go like crazy into like weird shit that's happening, but in terms of just the visuals, they are totally different places.
Okay.
And I think for me, it's just a type of story that I really enjoyed where. Basically, what happens to spoil it for you?
I don't care, so go for it.
Is he breaks canon? That's where that whole canon event.
I've been hearing about that on like TikTok and shit. Yeah.
So he breaks the rules basically.
Yeah.
And I'm super into stories where people straight up have to defy fate and go out on their own terms, right?
Yeah.
So I won't get into the details of what he's trying to solve.
Yeah.
But basically. All of the spider people are trying to stop him except for some of his friends and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
And it goes from there. And I don't know. My general attitude to that is that it is, in that sense, I don't know. It was awesome.
It should always be celebrated when they break the rules like that if it's done well. Is that kind of like what you're saying? Specifically with superhero movies, especially with how oversaturated it is, that anytime that they break the formula or break the mold, that it should be celebrated?
I'm not really talking about formula, I guess. I'm just saying, just the story is he is defying fate, not like the cinema in general.
Okay, got it.
But he is defying his own destined fate as a Spider-Man.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and that is why all of the Spider people are trying to stop him, because if he does, then like the whole multiverse gets thrown out of whack or whatever.
Right. That's our ranking. I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? You probably hate it, because I feel like everyone has their own tier list with these movies. You could put them in any order. Joe, do you have any parting words?
I don't know. Just generally speaking, I don't know how to describe. I haven't seen most of these, and I don't know how to articulate myself most of the time. But like, cut me some slack. Don't laugh at me, laugh at him.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Cole McCormick.
I'm Joe, I guess.
That's Joe, I guess. And you're watching Firewood Media. Thank you so much for watching.